Today I want to ask you a question. What is reality? What is the difference between something that is real and something that is imagined? Lately, in my own experience, as I've grown as an artist and gone further and further down this path and began to explore the world and go to places it is that I never thought I was going to be able to go to, going to ancient ruins in Mexico and Peru and visiting places like Venice, I'm beginning to really ask myself the question on a deeper level of how did this happen? How did my life go from having seemingly no progress whatsoever to living my dream life? And I've been dealing with this fear of losing what it is that I've gained, that somehow this could all just be stripped away from me. But what it's really revealed to me more than anything is not only the fear that has followed me for so long, that I'm slowly pulling myself away from, but it's also revealed to me how nobody understands anything about what life is. Life is some sort of strange experience that is very difficult to put into words. It seems like each one of us is being tested. We're being tested to see if we can understand how to actually work this simulation. People say that life is a simulation. And I've come to understand that that's what this really is. This world that we live in is very much like a simulation. But the difference between a video game and what it is that we experience here in this reality is that in a video game, we go and we collect things, we go and we collect tokens and do different activities out in the world in order to gain something in the game, in order to level up in the game. But that's not actually how the simulation of reality works. And this is one of the main issues it is that we run into whenever we use this analogy of the simulation. So in a video game, a game designer will design the world based around the specific verbs of actions that the player will be able to actually take in the world. So for example, the average game, say something like Skyrim, it might be something along the lines of fighting enemies, exploring new territory, collecting objects, crafting items, right? So there is this kind of gameplay mechanic that propels the player forward throughout the game. Now the difference, if you really consider this for a moment, whenever we compare this to life, it may seem like we do something that's somewhat similar. Not in the sense that we're running around killing things, but in the sense that what it is that we're doing is we are going out into the world and doing a lot of different things, whether that's working a job, collecting different things that give us this status symbol that we get to show off to other players in the game, trying to elevate our social status, trying to elevate the amount of money it is that we get, and all of this sort of thing. But the issue with that is that it's not really playing the real game. There's another game it is that can be played, a game it is that most people are not familiar with because they're too concerned with playing by the verbs of life that other people have designed for them. Now there's another game designer, and that game designer, the real game designer, the one that designed this whole universe, has a different set of verbs that it wants us to play by. And those verbs include things like trust, surrender, and remembrance and resonance. So everything comes down to remembering at the end of the day what it is that we actually are. And what it is that we are is not this physical body. That's for sure. We are instead an eternal being having a temporary experience. And it's very easy to say that intellectually and to think that we understand that, and then to forget at the very next moment whenever we have some sort of a situation in our life that seems impossible to get around. We seem to be limitless beings that have decided that we want to incarnate into this very limited experience in order to have this sense of contrast between our true limitless nature and this dream simulation that we exist in. So what is the simulation supposed to be teaching us? I think what the simulation is teaching us, if we really look at it and we really consider what is it that is at the heart of every decision we have to make, ultimately the decisions that we have to make come down to a place of a decision between love and fear. You know, maybe you want to travel the world, but there's a feeling of fear of not being able to do that. Maybe there's a desire to write a book, make paintings, make an animated film, but there's a fear that comes up that makes you think that maybe this wouldn't be financially viable on some level. So what we're being called to do in this simulated program is to consistently choose love over the fear. And the reason why it's important to do this is because this is the only way it is that we grow. This is the only way it is that we expand. And this is what it is that we do as limitless beings. We continuously put ourselves into these situations, into these realities that require us, that put us into situations that require us to grow. You know, you can look at anybody who was amazing at something it is that they did, and you can see that most of the time they came from very difficult backgrounds, or they were put into situations where it is that they had no other choice other than to succeed. And then you can look at people who had seemingly everything in their favor, but they didn't do anything with it. They just sat around. So this fear it is that we have of not being successful with what it is that we really want to do with our lives, whatever that is, whether that's helping other people, whether it's traveling the world and making YouTube videos about it. It is a constant situation it is that we're put into of choosing between love and fear. Now, what's interesting about this is that fear seems to be the language of the mind. You know, you ask yourself, well, I want to go and travel the world and see the world. And your mind immediately jumps in and says, now, wait a minute. You know, we need to think 10 steps down the line and figure out how are we going to do that. Right? And pretty soon, if you pay too much attention to what it is that it says, you'll talk yourself right out of doing it. The mind is not your friend. It's useful because the mind does have a point. You want to get certain things lined up in a specific way in order to be able to do something like travel around the world. There's specific technical things that need to be done, and the mind can help with that. But when the mind rules us, it basically just puts us into a box. It puts us into a box of something it is that we've already lived in and wants to keep us there. Not because it's our enemy, not because it wants to destroy us, but it wants to keep us safe. So in a way, you could say the mind is really neither your enemy nor your friend. It's more like a tool that's supposed to be used in its proper place. And when it runs rampant, it creates fear. And when it creates fear, we can't even see the step ahead of us. Now, love, on the other hand, love speaks in a totally different language. And we have been taught by our society and by the lives it is that we've led, so by our own misunderstanding, to not listen to the voice of love. Love is not this cozy thing, this cozy feeling all the time. We've kind of disillusioned ourselves with this idea of what love is. Love is showing up even when it's difficult to do something. Love is showing up whenever other people would have stopped, and you want to stop too, but you keep going. You keep doing what it is that you're doing, regardless of what other people are telling you is going to happen. But love only speaks through a feeling inside of you. You know, you get the idea, the inspiration that you want to travel the world, and this feeling comes inside of you, this feeling of expansion inside of your body. You feel it in your body. It's a very tangible feeling. It feels as if your whole soul is lighting up with this idea of living life, exploring the world, and writing books and making paintings and having lots of cool friends and stuff like that. Now, the thing to understand is that love, the way that the heart speaks, it can only give you the next step that is available to you. It is not going to give you 10 steps ahead. It's going to give you the step that is most relevant in that moment. So maybe you get this idea of going and traveling the world, and you get inspired to start looking for tickets to a specific place. The important thing is that you're following your intuition. You're following that feeling of love, that feeling of inspiration. And you continue to follow it and allow it to take you where it is that it's supposed to take you. So you want a clear vision of what it is that you want inside of your head. You want to get a clear vision of that to where it is that you can feel it inside of you. You can feel as if it was already happening to you. You can feel as if you had already been traveling into another country, like Venice or something like this. And feel the reality of that inside of your imagination. And don't be concerned with how it is that it's going to happen. Because once it is that you pick the thing it is that you want to happen, then life will begin to figure out how you're going to go about making that happen. You know, there's a book that I read quite a few times. It's actually an audio book that you can find on YouTube called Transurfing Reality, I'll find a link for it and I'll put it in the description box. But this book was incredibly helpful to me. And one of the ideas that this guy had was this idea of a place called the variant space, which I ended up illustrating and putting into the painting it is that you're seeing here on the screen right now. I did this piece as inspiration from the book itself, because in this book, this guy talks about this idea that there's a variant space, which is an infinite place. You could imagine almost like a hallway of doors that extends forever in each direction, kind of like that scene in The Matrix, right? And in each one of those doors is almost a different version of your life, of a life experience for you to have. And all it is that you really have to do is match up vibrationally with the door it is that you want to enter into, and then step through that door. And that comes to the second part of what it is that I was talking about, which is the idea of resonance that we use we have shape our reality here. Remembrance in this reality that we have to really consider the fact that what we want, we have to resonate with it first before it is that we can actually go into it. So if there's, like you see on the screen here, if there is an infinite amount of doors that extends not just left and right, but up and down and all around us, where it is that we are emotionally, where it is that we dwell emotionally, tells us which one of these doors that we actually enter into. And when we enter into that specific door, we could almost think of it as there's a whole set of different experiences within that room. So maybe there's a room for being a writer, and in that room is everything it is that you would need in order to experience being a writer, or being a painter, or traveling the world and making videos about food, or whatever it is that you want to do. When you step into that room, everything comes packaged together. And this brings me to another topic it is that I really appreciate, which is the writing of Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard talks about this thing called the Bridge of Incidents. And the Bridge of Incidents are basically 5 different things that life manifests for you in order for you to experience the thing it is that you want to experience. So let's say you want to be a writer, you want to do something creative, and you have that passion inside of you in order to go and execute on that thing. And you can see it well in your mind's eye, and you're following that inspiration. You will find when you look at your life that different things will begin to show up in your reality that are mirroring the resonance that you have with that vision it is that you have in your mind. And those things form like a bridge that takes you from your current reality into this other reality. It takes you into that other door. So for example, this could be people that you meet, opportunities that come to you, circumstances that happen in your life. They could be information and inspiration, right? So oftentimes this comes to us as inspiration. You get an idea for a painting, you get an idea for a book, you get an idea to go and travel and go and see a place. And as long as it is that you execute on that, what you'll find is is that opportunities and ideas will begin to multiply based off of that initial opportunity, because every opportunity that you seize multiplies, right? So every opportunity it is that you seize, it multiplies, it grows, it expands. And that it's expanding because you're putting your energy into that space. So whatever it is that you're feeding your energy into is growing and multiplying in your experience. So when we understand this, that the two verbs that seem to be shaping our reality, that seem to be moving us through this reality, is the remembrance of what it is that we are. We are a fractal in the mind of God. And the imagination is the body of God. And in this imagination, it's like a giant mansion. You know, Jesus talks about this in the Bible, that something along the lines of, in my Father's house there are, in my Father's mansion there are many rooms, and when I say I will go there to prepare a place for you, I will. Something along those lines, right? I don't have the quote right in front of me. But the idea is very much the same thing. What we exist in the imagination, is like a infinite mansion. And in this infinite mansion, there are a multitude of different things it is that we can explore and link into. And that's what it is that we do here. We incarnate into this very limited experience and forget that we're an unlimited being in order to have these experiences that could only be had in this very limited form. So I thank you guys for checking out my video. I have a print shop open that you can check out. You're seeing some of the pieces here on the screen right now. These are all inspired by different kinds of experiences it is that I've had, whether in meditation or through psychedelics, such as the one it is that you're seeing here now, which was inspired by my trips through Mexico. And I ended up getting this exact tattoo, or this exact piece tattooed onto my neck. You can see that here in this photo. So it ended up being a symbol for me of awakening my own sovereign individuality. And so if you'd like to see more of my art, you can check it out on my website, wesleyedwardsart.com. I've got some big prints available there. They're 40 inch by 30 inch. And thank you guys for watching. And leave me a comment if you'd be interested in hearing some more of this, and I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about this video. And thanks guys. Take care.